We're very proud and excited about a project that we've been working on for a couple of years now. It's called the Sunliner project, and we're applying to the state of Florida DOT for some 5311F funds to operate the Sunliner system. There is really no way that I-4 is going to be able to accommodate the level of traffic we currently have. It's not going to be able to accommodate the current level of, or the current traffic that's anticipated in the future. There's always been discussion of high-speed rail and those sorts of things that I've lived in Florida now for over 25 years, and they've been discussed for probably all of those 25 years. But in the meantime, we need to put something in play now, and that is why ESCOT is proposing the Sunliner system. When you look at some of the regional transportation initiatives that are out there, such as TBARTA, which is a great plan, but it calls for a tremendous amount of long-term planning, a tremendous amount of funds, which there has been no funding mechanism even identified for it yet. And there's a year 2035 plan and a year 2050 plan, which all look great on paper, and I think it's very exciting for the state of Florida. But with the amount of money, planning, and time that it's going to take to put those in place, it's almost like our road system. By the time that it's built, it's almost outdated. The Sunliner is a system that can be put in play right now. I mean, we have the equipment, the infrastructure in place. EscotBusLines has a corporate facility in Largo, Florida, in Pinellas County. We've just finished almost a $2 million investment in infrastructure in Orange County. We have a 6-bay maintenance garage facility. We have a fueling station, a bus wash facility, and we have the exact same similar infrastructure right here in Largo. And we can service the system on both ends of the spectrum, and we are ready to grow with the system, and we look forward to kicking off and getting started. The public sector in Florida, by and large, really do run pretty efficient systems. However, the funding mechanisms are outdated. They are all hurting for money at this present time. The private sector is ready and available to step in now with this service right now. We're looking to tie into the existing transit systems. We do not want to compete with the existing transit systems. We want to complement the existing systems. So if we were to go out and try to run along the exact same routes and the exact same lines, then basically we're just splitting up the ridership, which isn't going to help anybody. But if we can take a system and connect the dots all the way along the state and drive ridership to those systems, then everybody benefits. The private sector has the advantage that we're shovel ready. We have equipment already in place. We don't need to go out and seek federal dollars for equipment. We can react quicker to changes. We have the staff already in place. We have the equipment already in place. We have the infrastructure already in place. The public sector right now is unable to respond to the needs of Florida based largely on the fact that the funding just isn't there to be able to do it. As Florida continues to grow, the public sector and the private sector need to work together. It's the only way that we're going to efficiently be able to meet the needs of the traveling public. Well, economic stimulus to me means money goes into the private sector provides service, provides products, makes a profit, pays taxes, employs people. That's what stimulates the economy. Our transit systems here in Florida, by and large, are efficient by the way transits are typically benchmarked. However, there are very few jobs out there that the private sector cannot do more efficiently and better than the public sector can. You know, as more regional transportation initiatives such as TBARTA come to the table, and you know, the elected officials and the general public and the communities are looking as to how that role is going to be played out into their community, you know, there's a question that has to be asked. You know, where do I get the benefits from my tax dollars? How do I want my tax dollars to be spent? Am I willing to pay a transit tax? Am I willing to pay more sales tax that's going to be dedicated for transit? Where are those funds going to go? When you look at private sector being able to operate, particularly on some of these premium routes like what we're talking about proposing here for the Sunliner, to look at those choice riders, when that can be operated for 15 to 20 to 25% less than what the public side can, I mean, it seems to be a no-brainer. I don't know how the public sector is going to be able to, in totality, be able to respond to all of those needs. And the public sector is going to have a role to play. There's going to be no question about that. But When you look across the country in the areas where transit has been privatized, there's been tremendous cost savings in those areas. There's been service increases as opposed to service cutbacks. If you look at what's happening right here in the Tampa Bay area, the local transits are cutting service back by 5 to 10% a year, just trying to figure out how they're going to meet their current budget. And next year is not going to be any better. They have the same problems next year that they have this year. The time is right for the private sector to come to the table and say, hey, we can do this. We are here to help. The individuals the Sunliner is trying to serve is going to be tourists, it's going to be commuters, it's going to be students, it's going to be anybody that needs to access social needs, whether they be medical facilities, educational facilities. If we can build that ridership and start to remove some of those cars from the I-4 corridor, that also helps to change individuals' attitudes about long-haul transit options, which in the state of Florida currently do not exist. That is going to have to take place for the proposed high-speed rail to be successful. And when high-speed rail does come to the state of Florida, and light rail and some of these other regional initiatives, the buses are going to have to feed those systems. And when those train systems run into mechanical difficulties, which they do from time to time, the buses still run. The state of Florida DOT has looked at ways of being able to increase Florida's economic competitiveness by increasing the effectiveness and the efficiencies of the intermodalism within the state of Florida. Currently, that plan lacks a meaningful passenger carrying component, and the Sunliner could fit very well into that by taking the transit systems, connecting the dots along the way, including the international gateways and including existing intercity bus service. This also really kind of dovetails with community development as well. The Sunliner system will be touching points in the community that have never really been touched before. And I think that is very, very important as Florida continues to develop and continues to grow. For Florida's long-term future, people have to have a different attitude about how they're going to get around in the future. I mean, Florida, as well as most of the United States, has been designed around the use of the automobile, and we're seeing how the flaws of that design strategy can be. You know, you can only build roads so big, you can build them so wide, you can only make them, you can build so many. We've got to look at other ways of getting around, and this is a very important community development piece, and it's a piece that EscotBusLines and the Sunliner system is very, very committed to.